Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another day-to-day podcast, and we are here with some exciting news in multiple areas today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be starting with some special news about the internet itself, and then we'll be getting into the big event which happened on 7th of June.
Yesterday.
Yeah, 7th
Yesterday.
of
That's
June. Yes,
yesterday, right? Yeah.
on the day that we are recording, it's yesterday, 7th of June. We WWDC happened with Apple, and we'll be going into that after the first discussion. So, Chandika, what's the whole internet news about?
Yeah. So we'll. I mean, this. I mean, on the we are recording this on the 8th, and this probably happened like a few hours ago. So we just thought of we'll cover this before going into WWDC because I mean we were gonna really talk about WWDC. What happened was essentially there has been an internet outage, and that has been caused because of this one company called Fastly, which hosts some of the prominent sites like New York Times, Shopify, and certain other websites, and even some of the UK government websites, if I'm not mistaken. They've tried to do some update to one of their systems, and it hasn't gone really well, and it has caused a massive crash across um, the globe. And I think it's restored as of now. It's 6:42 p.m. on the 8th of June. Um, it's restored as far as I can figure out. I went to some of the sites that were affected. It seems to be working fine. So yeah, I mean,
so they mentioned here that like the websites knocked offline include PayPal, Shopify, BBC, HBO Max, and Vimeo. Vimeo, okay.
oh, HBO Max. Wow, okay, that's a major. I mean, it's sort. Yeah, I mean, it's getting there. It's not as big as Netflix or Disney Plus, but it's still one of the players in that whole streaming service. I mean, imagine you not being able to stream because of a server outage, right? I mean, who would think something like that? So I'm not too sure whether, I mean, what sort of outage it was. As I understood in the article, it sort of mentions about I mean, some update that they tried to do, and that has not gone the way that they wanted to. Let me see, it was called some POP update or something.
I just highlighted the text on screen. So it says we identified a service configuration that triggered disruption across our POP's point of presence globally and have disabled that configuration. So I mean, it's basically they probably tried to do an update, and some setting probably didn't match with whatever was happening. I guess that's the simplest way we can explain it.
Wonder who's gonna lose a job for that.
Okay, but I mean, this probably, I mean, caused a lot of. If it was just few random sites, don't mind, but these big, especially something like PayPal, I mean, it involves a lot of money transaction, and like even if it's
exactly, I mean,
even if it's like few minutes, there's probably a lot of transactions that are happening on PayPal.
Probably millions of dollars of transactions, right? In a few minutes.
It's almost similar to the banking infrastructure going down in a country like in for some time. So pretty big. Hopefully.
I mean, it begs to. I mean, like it begs a question whether, I mean, we should actually, they say all these, cloud services are reliable. There is nothing that can happen. Nothing can go wrong. There's always redundancy. But I mean, I think was it last year? Was it the beginning of this year? We had Google outage. Was that last year? I can't remember.
Google.
Google. There was like YouTube did work.
Yeah. There was a Google outage probably sometime this year. I can remember it was maybe March or a little around that maybe. Or a little before.
I think we spoke about that as well on this podcast.
Probably, yeah. So after March, then after March, because it started on March. And I mentioned this a while ago to you as well. Amazon also went through a similar outage probably a couple of months ago, and Amazon servers host a lot of websites, big as well as small websites and services.
AWS.
Yeah, Amazon services.
So I think even if I'm not mistaken, even stuff like Netflix and all that is on in AWS, if I'm not mistaken.
So this the thing you mentioned, it's also here about the Google Docs thing. So you can mention about this to our viewers.
Oh yeah. So I mean, so one of the sites that was affected by this was The Verge. I don't know if you guys have heard of The Verge. They're like a sort of tech news aggregator, and they do like reviews and stuff. So not a tech news aggregator. That's the wrong term I used. They're like a tech news website. So I mean, their site was also down. So what they sort of resorted to was to give updates to everyone. They sort of shared a Google Docs link on their Twitter, and people are just going crazy about that.
So they continuously updated that document just to put the news that they had.
Just to keep everyone just keep everyone updated on what's
Is the link still there? Is the link still?
I'm not sure. I didn't check it. Wait, let's see.
Wait, let's see. There's a Twitter link here. Let's see if we can. If it's there, I mean, we can give a look at it. Well, what do you call? Sudden situations demand. What I can't remember the exact. What do you call? Okay, so they have some screenshots here.
Internet is on the internet nowadays. It was editable. It was made editable. Oh my god! I can't imagine what would have happened there.
I mean, yeah, this is another mistake from the Verge's side. Fast engine online because of great service for the internet is now editor. Why is this editable? There are a few more screenshots, I think. So this is what the end of the world looks like.
So I mean that whoever has typed that, they might be right. I mean, come on. If we lose like one of the major cloud vendors, if something happens in the infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
A whole lot of services are going to go down. I mean, they need to be a bit more. I mean, even for something, okay, like what you said, Nilanka, like for something like PayPal, if it's down for even like a few minutes, right? There are millions of dollars worth of transactions happening within PayPal, right? I mean, that all those payments are not going to go through, right? I mean, some might go through and money might not be transferred. I mean, there could be issues like that as well, right? I mean, it gets targeted as being paid, but the receiver never receives the money. Some issues like that can happen as well. Right?
That's
so
not good.
this is what I mean. People should realize. I mean, it doesn't. Just because you move things to the cloud doesn't make it like invulnerable to all these issues. It's just.
I mean, my question is right. Like it's a discussion to have, right? Like most of the services or the websites don't have the capacity or the capability of hosting their own websites in their own servers, and they rely to cloud services because it's probably cheaper because they're doing it on a bigger scale. And at this point, it's more of there are 3-4 big cloud service providers, and most of the services are centralized in these areas. And the internet itself is at a risk if one of these services goes down for like this instance, even for a couple of minutes. It's not just us losing access to a certain website. It's people will lose a lot of money just and even probably more things. I mean, there can be a lot of dependencies that we don't know with these cloud services and when people are using it. Another examples that I can think of is if it's something related to trading stock trading applications. Imagine one of those applications going offline during trading hours for 15 minutes. That's not good.
So the weirdest part is I think I'm not sure whether it was last year or the year before. The US government they were sort of looking at a cloud vendor for hosting the Department of Defense's sort of services in. Right, and I think they narrowed it down. So Google was out in like the first round for some reason. I don't know why. I think they had narrowed it down to Azure from Microsoft, AWS, and Oracle for some reason. And I'm not sure. I think they went with Oracle. Let me just double check that. US government, US defense.
I mean, at this point, Oracle Oracle has the least bad reputation among the previously mentioned names.
Sorry. I made a mistake there.
Okay,
it was actually Microsoft.
Okay, Microsoft.
It was actually Microsoft that they,
yeah. Even Microsoft. I mean, when you think of Amazon and Google right now, they are pretty big, but they might not have the biggest reputation for privacy and data integrity. All this is kind of matters right now. Probably because of these reasons, they thought of going with either Microsoft or like why I mentioned Oracle as one of the bigger one was because Oracle doesn't have this many, how do you say, it doesn't have that much bad reputation when it comes to data, privacy, and security of data.
But I mean, neither does Microsoft, right? I mean, they also don't. You don't really hear about Microsoft's cloud being.
Not cloud, but Microsoft itself is. I think it's because we are not exposed to this information that much. Microsoft,
they can be they can be considered, but I mean, they had like massive anti-competitive issues probably in the early 2000s, late 90s. I think it was to do with the web browser, Internet Explorer at the time, which they sort of bundled with the operating system, so that becomes like a. Like there was an issue with that.
What I heard was regarding the operating system itself, like Windows 10, which is more of a internet-based operating system, compared to the past operating systems from Windows, because this has a lot more data collection. Even when you are using, like when you are installing the operating system, there's a lot of permissions that you have to give. This data you're allowed to collect this every even analytics, what kind of applications you use. Most of these data they collect to cater advertisements, because you see even on the start menu there are advertisements popping up on different locations, right? I haven't used the Windows laptop for some time, but that I remember it was similar some time ago. So this is also a result of that data collection, advertisements through the operating system itself.
Yeah, at least I'm not getting it because I think I'm on my laptop that I'm looking at is actually probably my work laptop, so I don't really.
Probably. So, the corporate licenses probably have something different. Yeah. Okay, then let's get on to the big topic then. So
the bigger topic.
The bigger topic. So WWDC happened. Yesterday night for us, that is 7th of June, and a lot of new things were released. Maybe not what people expected, but more
so there were like rumors.
there
were rumors going on, like wild rumors. Like, so the one rumor was like they were going to announce some hardware as well, because I think it was last year that they announced the Mac Pro, if I'm not mistaken, at WWDC.
They introduced the new M1 processor last WWDC.
No, sorry, not the Mac Pro. They introduced the processor. So my bad. So I mean, they were expecting some hardware to come out of it. They were, there were sort of rumors about the improved MacBook Pro coming in with the M1X processor and some things like that. And I mean, some people even said Apple is going to have like a post-event mini conference sort of thing to discuss audio sort of stuff. I mean, people were just thinking they were talking about
the new hi-fi audio thing. Is it that?
Yeah, no, I mean that's what they ended up talking about. I think, and it was just like a press release or something. But actually, what people thought was going to happen was there was a picture of LeBron James, if I'm not mistaken. Someone had photographed him, and he was apparently wearing the latest AirPods Pro, or maybe just AirPods 3. And there's so many speculations of that's what they're going to announce. And I don't know, people just go crazy when it comes to all these rumors, I guess.
Yeah,
But
so
all we got was
I
software
also heard
updates,
these
everything.
rumors, like you said. And but the question for me is, they summarize, yesterday was day one of WWDC. Apparently there should be a day
Mm.
two. I mean, there'll be few things
Yeah,
afterwards. So my
yeah.
question is,
So
would they be releasing other things, or is it the developer
no.
focused
So
segment?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the that's
yeah.
the. So most people, most people think no, it's like one of the Apple events, but it's actually not an Apple event per se. It's on at least it's not a consumer focused event. It's
Yeah,
what WWDC stands for, is the Worldwide Developer
developer
Conference,
conference. Yeah.
right? So Apple focuses on the developer, and sort of like a program that happens for about 3 or 4 days, if I'm not mistaken, and they sort of go into details. So the first day is sort of the keynote, and followed by a few other segments that you have. And on day two, they sort of dive deep into certain other segments of the software, maybe explain what WatchOS 8 does a bit more, and how HomeKit works with your watch to unlock certain things, and Swift. I think they're introducing Swift, uh, uh, something to do with cloud deployment, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, sorry, that's Xcode Cloud. Sorry, I was wrong there. Xcode Cloud, certain things like that.
Yeah.
It's fully developer focused, so they sort of focus on the developer to help them understand how they can use these tools, and that sort of angle. It's not necessarily meant for consumers.
Okay, yeah, because like it's Apple. We had this discussion again in a previous episode. Apple, they host multiple events throughout the year, rather than
Uh-huh.
one or two big events, because they want to keep the
Uh-huh.
hype up, and their product lineup
Uh-huh.
will come anyway. So the
Uh-huh.
speculations that we heard of, the renders of different devices that came up online, probably they will be released soon, maybe in a couple of months,
Uh-huh.
or they, some people said they'll just randomly put it up on the Apple store, and then they'll release an article about it. So you never know.
Yeah, they did that previously. I can't
Once or
remember for
twice,
what they
once or
did that.
twice, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the product that they did it for. But yeah, I mean, they do stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
because I guess they don't want to play into the hands of the people who are speculating things. They say, okay, you're gonna guess that, I'm gonna do something completely different today. So
I mean, it's weird. I mean, okay, hosting an event that has a cost to it as well, right? And there's some cost involved, and some production that goes in there. But Apple can just put something up on their website and just release a news article, which is going to cost them like nothing, I'm guessing, in their context. And people are still going to talk about it, and there are going to be like speculations about why they're doing it, and oh my god, what's next? I mean, they can just do whatever, and just
whatever
people.
they want. Yeah.
In terms of advertising.
I mean, they release these things, right? If you go to the Apple YouTube channel, they put up videos very randomly, a random video out. Sometimes maybe it's about privacy, maybe it's about some kind of feature that they're gonna bring in, and it blows up everywhere. It's Apple, and they don't even have comments enabled on their. They're probably one of the biggest like companies which doesn't have comments on enabled on their YouTube channel. Probably for reasons that we don't know about. Obvious reasons. Yeah. So okay, then let's get on to the WWDC summary again. They had different features put forward. We'll just go through. There are a few articles that I found which explains things differently.
Maybe we can start with iOS 15.
Okay, then I had a list, but we can start with iOS 15. Then let me.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
Let's
because
go with the list, man. Let's go with the list. If you had it prepared, let's go with the list. That's fine.
List. Okay.
Let's go with the list. That's fine.
Okay. So it's just a website, so it's easier for us to go through. All the details are there in this article. We'll just go through one by one. So the first thing that they are talking about is I mean, the very brief idea, and then where yeah, Safari. So Safari is the first thing in the article that they talk about. So Safari got an update. Technically, they cleaned out the interface, removed some buttons, put the search bar on the tab itself, as far as I can remember. So it's much more clean, and then there's less clutter on the.
And they brought in these what's called like grouped tabs or something.
Yeah, group tabs. So
probably that's not the right term.
A set of tabs that you've already opened, you can put it to a group and save it, so you can open it sometime later. So if it's let's say work related, you have a set of tabs which are work related, you can put it to a group and keep it. If it's something related to a specific project, you can put it to a group and keep it. So whenever you want, you can open those tabs. Yeah.
I mean that's actually helpful. Actually, when I yesterday I made my wife watch it as well. I watched the whole keynote, and I mean she found it interesting because I mean she's in a product designer and product manager sort of environment. That's a role, and I mean it's interesting to see what they do with products, how they change it. It gets your mind going as well. I mean, we can probably do some of these in the products that we are working in, right? So it's good for you to watch as well. And she instantly said, okay, this is very useful for me because I can just have a set of work tabs, right? Saying I have a set of tabs that work for work, because I mean she uses stuff like Jira and there's some graphics, something that is used, I can't remember what it's called, to drags and I think draw.io or something. And you can have all those to open in just one click. Everything just opens up, and you can just continue working with that. You don't have to individually go and open everything.
My concern or question for this feature, I don't know whether they explained it or not, is whether they save the tab where it is. For an example, if we are doing certain, if do they save it as they save a running software on the RAM? You remember Hibernate feature, or like on Windows, right?
Yeah.
So on Hibernate, they just put it to the hard drive, like what's on the RAM, put it to the hard drive, and they put it back to the RAM when they restart the computer. So is this similar? So the RAM, like the tabs itself, is it actively saved, or is it just the links saved?
I'm not too sure about that. They didn't really go into that per se.
My assumption is probably it's only the links. It just opens the set of tabs. It's the easiest thing for them to do.
At least for now.
Yeah, at least for now. But maybe they'll move into this kind of a feature later. I mean, they have the resources to do it. It's not that. I mean, most devices are on SSD now. So
I think there is a similar feature in Edge, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
Is it Edge?
I haven't used it.
Chrome, I don't think Chrome has it. Probably Edge was looking at implementing it, or I mean, they were sort of either they implemented it or something like that. Or was it Firefox? There was another browser that was looking into this concept.
Then probably it's similar in Safari, maybe, if they implemented it before. But okay, I guess we'll have to see. Maybe let's see if
Edge tab groups, right? It's called tab groups.
Yeah, I'm just seeing whether it's explaining it anywhere. Let me see on the other articles. Safari.
All right. So yeah, it's. So it was last year, I think, when they introduced it. I think so. It's sort of group.
I'm just searching if there's an article specifically about the Safari browser. So like update on WWDC. So we might be able to. Unfortunately, they don't have like the Apple itself doesn't have the output of the first day of the conference.
They'll probably. I mean, most of the details are actually going to come out during the conference. So they'll probably have it at the end of the conference. So I think we can probably have a look at it at that time.
Yeah, we are planning to have another discussion on the updates later, so we can keep it to that, and we can explain more about this later. Okay, then let's move on to the next update, which is macOS Monterey, which is the update to macOS. And there were few features. I mean, as let me open the image, which can be seen. Okay. So this is again the summary for what they're trying to give for macOS, which is pretty interesting. Most of the features I never knew that they existed in other devices. Some of these features, there's shortcuts feature and this shortcuts application, which also you can automate. What's the name of this? I can't remember the name of this. The icon which has like 2 squares here, like on.
That's shortcuts. It's called
It is shortcuts, right? Yeah. Okay. So shortcuts. I mean, it automates certain workflows in your device, as far as I understood. And I never used this before, but it's pretty amazing from what I understood. You can.
So if you've heard of this app called if then this that IFTTT something.
What?
There's an app called if then if this then that IFTTT.
No, I haven't.
So it's sort of like what shortcuts. So shortcuts is a set of you can set together a bunch of actions, and when you just hit one button, all those actions execute without any issue, right? So you can just assign it to one button. So it's just a button, and all of these actions sort of gets executed.
Apparently,
and you can
like the macOS already had an application similar to this. I only got to know it yesterday when WWDC was happening, which is called Automator. It's already there in macOS, and I haven't used it before. Like it's there. I just checked the application. It's there. But probably I have to see what it's all about and just try it out before the update comes. So it's going to make a lot of work easier for a lot of people if you want to automate a lot of your workflows. And I guess it's definitely it will improve efficiency of a lot of tasks within macOS and all the other devices which it is enabled to.
So what I think Apple is trying to do with shortcuts is sort of bring in the same sort of flavor across all the devices, so that it's sort of similar workflows across.
Yeah, what we forgot to mention is whatever updates that they did to Safari also actually was given to all the other versions, or the iOS and iPadOS versions of Safari as well. They enabled we forgot to mention, they enabled what do you call plugins, extensions on both devices. So if you have an extension on Safari on your MacBook, the same extension can be enabled on your phone, which is pretty amazing because most mobile web browsers don't have extensions. Chrome, I don't think, I'm not sure about Chrome. I haven't been using Chrome recently, but Firefox enabled the extensions recently, but not all the extensions. They enabled a list of, I think, around 10 or 10 extensions which are on the desktop version. They created separate versions for the mobile version, as far as I know. So they are active for the web browser, like such as ad blockers, password storage applications. So these things they enable these extensions to the mobile version, and some privacy extensions. So similarly, they are going to bring most of these features to all the other devices as well. The next thing, this we need to talk about, universal control. That looked pretty amazing.
Oh, that I mean that was that was epic, man. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. Right, just you move the mouse and it just goes, and you don't have to. The weird part is, I mean, you don't have to like pair it or do anything with that. It just you put it next to it and it just works.
What some of the videos mentioned was probably you need to have to be signed in with the same account, or else it's a security issue otherwise.
That's of course. That's probably the minimum minimum, because I mean, just to give you some context, I mean, so I have I have the Apple Watch and I have an iPad as well. So whenever, I mean, I didn't do anything to sort of connect all these devices. Of course, the Apple Watch I did, but automatically if I get a call on my phone and it's somewhere else, or maybe in charge, that's a feature called handoff, right? So what it does is it just hands it off to whatever device is nearest, and you can take the call from the iPad if you want to.
Wow. That's nice.
right? So, and it works on your Mac as well, right? So you'll get a pop-up saying, there's a call coming in. Where do you want to answer it from? And it's intelligent enough to ask. So that's even if you're wearing your AirPods. If you answer it from there, it'll connect it to your AirPods, and you can carry on the conversation. Seamless.
I'm being leaned, or like I'm being convinced to get move towards an iPhone sometime soon. We'll see. But
Dude, I mean, it just makes your life easier, right? If you have Mac, I'm just saying.
The only thing that I have to probably do is I probably would have to get YouTube Premium. That's something. I hate the ads on YouTube, and that's the only thing that I would have to do to make my life on an iPhone easier. That's one of the things. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, okay. Let's get on with this. The next thing is, I mean, these few features are actually, again, it's not just macOS. It's a how do you say, it's spread out to most of the devices. Universal control. It allows you, like, we didn't explain this that much. It allows you to connect or like share, move. How can we explain it? It allows you to operate several devices at once if it's close by. So for an example, you can move your mouse pointer from your MacBook to your iPad or to your iMac at the same time. You can actually move files in between them. You can do actions on whatever device through one of these devices. So it's probably the simplest way which we can explain this. It's a very convenient solution if you have a lot of these devices. If you have a Mac OS, like if you're an Apple user with a lot of Apple devices in your hand, then it's a very convenient feature in your hand to handle all these devices without having to take another device into your hand. So well done.
And
with
wireless,
that.
right? You don't need to configure. There's no configuration needed. You just bring it next to it, and it just works as long as you're signed into
very
the same account.
very easy. So it's a job well done with Apple. I have to say.
I'm just wondering what devices would it work on? That's just my. I mean, they didn't show an iPhone being able to do this, so I'm guessing the iPhone doesn't.
Probably not iPhone. I mean, it doesn't hate. I mean, it can be enabled on it, but probably iOS doesn't have the pointer feature there,
right?
Because it's a purely touch device, not a pointer based device. I'd appreciate if they had it on the iPhone as well, because it would be, it would make life easier. But anyway, the only restriction probably would be on certain devices. They would have to have certain OS updates, I guess. That would be the only limitation that I can see here. And the OS updates would be limited to certain devices, obviously. So the iOS 15, I think, will come to iPhone 6 onwards.
6S actually.
6S, okay, 6S onwards. macOS updates probably would be coming after the 2015 version, probably.
Yeah. So 6S, just to give you some context, 6S was launched in 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so then it's like that they probably have this year, right? When they decide this is the last year we're going to give updates. With I heard someone say that the new macOS would be also released to the 2015 models of MacBooks, probably not anything before. So it's probably the same year, and then any OS updates coming later would probably be 2016 onwards, I guess.
Wow. So, dude, I mean, just imagine like iPhone 6S is 2015, right? So that's more than 6 years, almost 6 years. iPhone 6S.
Let me check. iPhone 6S release date.
Or is it Wikipedia? Oh, is it the summary?
Yeah, it's here. 6S Plus, 6S and 6S Plus, 9th of September 2015.
Wow. So, dude, they're supporting it for what, 6 years?
Yep.
I mean, you can. To be frank, I have a friend who still uses 6S.
Yeah.
right?
There's probably a lot of people using 6S. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good phone, right? I mean, it is. A lot of people use it, and I actually upgraded to a 11 last year before, because I mean I was using an SC, the old SC, and I mean I thought, okay, I can go ahead and get this. You know, it's bigger, it's sort of better phone, and I can probably use it for 6 years. I mean that's what people would have thought when they brought the 6S, right? And they would have wanted to use it for at least 5 or 6 years, and Apple is supporting that, right? As opposed to some Android phones, you can't. I mean, although even flagship ones, right? Yes, even flagship ones you can't really use for more than 3 years, right? You don't really get the updates as such. But Samsung and you know, all these vendors are trying to fix that, trying to sort of.
It's just
trying to fix that, but let's see where that goes.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, most Android devices, they don't.
I mean, with regard to support, you can't do that.
Yeah,
I guess.
Well, we will see where it goes. I mean, hopefully. So there's a small disconnection. We apologize for it. I think. Sandy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. I think there's a bit of a delay, right?
Yeah. Because this website which we were in, it started playing all the videos automatically. So that's why I don't know how to disable these videos.
Oh, hogging the bandwidth.
Yes, very.
Oh, that's annoying.
What the hell? Okay, let me pause all the videos before they start playing, and I guess it's okay now. Let's continue. So moving into some other features, they talked about spatial audio. Yeah, go ahead.
So no, there's a massive delay when I spoke about a minute ago.
Let me see. I closed the tab which was causing the issues. Hopefully it corrects. I think it's okay now. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's better. That's much better.
Yeah, it was that one tab which was like hogging all the data. I just closed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably better. So I mean, macOS. We can really go into details, but I mean, this is sort of the gist of it. These are some of the key features I'm guessing that you guys would sort of find interesting as well. So what do you think? Shall we move on to maybe iOS or?
Yes, let's move into iOS. I guess iOS 15 probably would be the next big update with them. So let's move to iOS 15.
So what's your favorite feature on iOS?
I mean, it's I guess with the iOS specific, not I mean they explain a lot of features which can be affected to iOS, but I mean there's my favorite feature out of the whole WWDC is the what do you call the iCloud Plus. Let's keep it to that. But
right.
But
okay. I mean, do.
With iOS 15 itself, my favorite thing would be what I remember is the notifications and the notifications, how they put them together. I mean, there's a lot of I think it's very difficult for me to give like my favorite feature when most of them are pretty good features. I think the shared with you feature is also really nice.
Oh yes, that is actually quite useful, right? I mean, it's I'm not sure whether it's just for the Apple apps, but I think third party apps can also sort of get in on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
So
yes, yes. I think
maybe if
so.
you go onto Netflix, Netflix can have a shared with you app, and it sort of shows you, okay, what has people shared with you, and you can get a contact as well. I mean, dude, that's amazing, right? And you can see it in the app itself.
So I just
Um,
found a better article that talks about the features that they give at iOS 15.
all right, that's better. So actually, my favorite feature. I mean, it's not exactly a feature for iOS per se, but it's the fact that you can make FaceTime calls
Ah,
for non-Android users, not
none.
non-Apple users.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But
uh,
I mean, there was a video again talking about this. They say no, you're not getting an app on Android, but you can connect with your rich friends without buying an iPhone.
yeah, I mean, okay. But I mean, dude, like they do it through a web browser, right? I mean, that's still
Yeah,
cool, I'm guessing. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I actually that's the first feature I want to try out when it comes out, not anything else. Um, just want to try that out. And the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
feature that I'm actually looking forward to trying out is the sort of live text feature,
Live text.
uh,
Live text.
which
I mean,
is
yeah, it's a pretty, how to say, old feature in Android, which has in Android. But
yeah,
probably
but I
they are
mean,
doing
I'm
it
guessing
probably.
Apple
Yeah,
didn't have as much photos to
yeah,
Apple didn't have as much photos to learn from. I'm
yeah.
guessing
Exactly,
as
exactly.
Google.
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true. But they're probably doing it better. Hopefully, that's their
Okay.
reputation, right? They. I mean, even if they copy something, they do it better than their competition usually.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, the recognition systems are better because I mean, but I mean, the Android version of this is Google Lens, which is pretty
Mm-hmm.
good at the moment. I mean, you can recognize most text and most kind of what kind of images they are because of
Mm-hmm.
they had enough time to learn and they had enough photos on their free Google Photos
Mm-hmm.
until they didn't made
So
it big. Yeah.
the thing is, for Google Lens to work, it needs to be connected, right?
As in, I didn't understand.
It has to be connected to the internet.
Yes, it has to be.
Okay. Is it the same with live text, or is it on
Maybe
device?
maybe certain features are on device. For an example, if it's text, probably
Uh-huh.
it's on device. And even Google
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Google no, Google, yeah, because these are actually two features, right? These are different. Like Android has different applications for this. Google Lens is specifically to, let's say, read a text and find the relevant resources online, or
Mm-hmm.
check an
Mm-hmm.
image and find similar photos online. But
Mm-hmm.
this is actually a way to snap text and like on a photo and then make it to a editable text.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a
Mm-hmm.
scanner compared to like a searching
Yeah, I
application.
mean, it's. I mean, you can even like spotlight search for text within pictures, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes, that's good.
right? So
Yeah,
that's oh, okay. That's
that's
just
yeah, it's pretty good. It's, I don't think you have it in Android at any point. No.
uh-huh.
So that means they have to
Okay.
actually read all these. I mean, they have to index these photos whenever they are taken,
Mm-hmm.
right? They'll have to go through these photos, and then if there's text, they'll have to index it somewhere. Okay, text available. This kind of text is there. So then
Mm-hmm.
probably will take some part of the storage, but will make things much
Mm-hmm.
easier and faster. But anyway, you have 128
Okay,
GB and upwards in most new iPhones, so doesn't matter.
should be fine.
Yeah. Then yeah, text recognition. I mean, this thing, the keys in wallet app and your ID in your wallet
Oh yeah,
application,
that's
good. Plus, I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical on the idea itself
why why is
because
that? Why is
no,
that?
like for me, I am a I like electronic devices, but there are certain areas
Uh-huh.
that you like shouldn't rely completely on digital devices, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like things like your house, the lock to your house, things like these
Mm-hmm.
things. Maybe it's just the Sri Lankan mindset, or like me, or like my privacy concern thinking about this because even Elon Musk, however electronic devices he is propelling, he is also talking against, let's say, AI. This is similar.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
opinion. It's if you make most of your devices or like almost all of your devices digital, there's a risk of you losing access to devices which are pretty simple. I mean, there are electronic refrigerators, there are locks, there are even lights that we use right now. But for an example, if someone else gets access to these devices, you probably wouldn't be able to do anything.
So I think the issue there is, Nilanka, not necessarily whether it's electronic devices, that it's being sort of, it's connected. It's an IoT. It's Internet of Things, right? It's connected to the internet as opposed to a localized secure network, which has nothing to do with the internet, right? I mean, I'm with you in that aspect, because there is nothing. Everything. I mean, everything that we have, most of the things that we have right now is more or less connected to the internet, and which I don't think is a good idea, because I think last year when Google, that outage happened, I'm just going to come back to that again, some of these devices didn't work, right?
Exactly.
And that's scary, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's scary. I mean, yeah, if your house something that you rely on, maybe your locks,
like one of the worst case scenarios would be the car, you know, your electric car. It's run by a certain OS and it's connected to the internet in some sort of way, and if these services go down, you are stuck somewhere in the middle of the road without you being able to move. One example, one of the worst case scenarios, and there are probably much worse incidents that can happen.
Worse, someone could hack your vehicle. I mean, do certain things, right? That's totally plausible.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just these are upsides and downsides of the technology that we are using anyway. As long as they are made secure, I mean, Apple, they are presumed to be more secure in terms of the application. They give they have more privacy concerns when it comes to their software, their devices. So I mean, there are news which are exceptions. For an example, something that I got to know recently was that Apple had to I mean, this is again, these are political requests. In China, they had to build a data, what do you call, all the data of Chinese Apple users has to be stored in China, not outside of China. So they had to build a data center that stores all the data from Chinese citizens there, which has access to the Chinese, like Chinese government has to be given access to these data. So essentially, so it's not technically private anymore for those people. So I mean, if another government wants to do it, they'll probably have to do it rather than, you know, giving up the services there. So well,
so I think even if I'm not mistaken, even India sort of has that rule.
India has that rule for social media, but not yet for as far as I know. No, is it for Apple as well?
Not
I'm
for
not sure.
Apple per se, because we had this weird issues. So when I was working at my previous employer, we had a few companies in India as well, right? So and apparently, so when I asked why, because they I mean, although we were the same company, they had a different domain, right? But we had companies elsewhere. They were still under our domain. It was still the same domain, right? But that particular the companies in India, they had their own domains. I'm not sure whether it was like a because they were maybe probably incorporated differently. But what the IT guys told me was there's a requirement at India's end that some specific data, I'm not sure what exactly it is. Probably stuff to do with all these, certain factory related data. They can't really send it out of the country. They need to keep it within the country, so that it could be something to do with that. I'm not sure whether it applies for iPhone users or Android
maybe then they probably have like a data center there as well. I mean, India is a big country, and it depends on depends on the number of users they have. Probably they have a lot of users, iPhone users. Maybe not as big as
really, actually.
Maybe not as big as the population.
No, so I think less. It is the iPhone market is very. Small. I mean, it's very very small. Like, I mean, I'm sure Sri Lanka has a bigger market in terms of market share. not actual users, but
from what I hear, like
in
the
terms of
biggest market
share,
share they have is in the US. That's what I hear. US is even like younger generation, most of them tend to buy Apple devices compared to Android devices. Most of the younger generation in the US, this is what I hear. It's the mindset.
That's mainly because one thing is, it's sort of made in, it's Apple is made in the US, right? And people sort of tend to go for US built products. That's one thing. And the thing is, if you're in the US, right? I mean, all of these features are gonna work from day one, right? For us using
prices are
using some of the features,
the prices are also low in the US compared to other areas.
And we are talking about all these features we are talking about right now, right? But iPhones just work everywhere. So in some vehicles, they sort of take the iPhone as the sort of standard size when making phone holders, right? So as you can just put in your iPhone into certain areas in the car, and it just fits perfectly, and it starts charging. There's like a charger built in, and there are certain things like that as well, right? So probably not available for us, but I mean that also has a
even these new maps features that they released, it's mainly US based.
Yes.
And I can't imagine they would. I mean, even if they come to countries like Sri Lanka, it would probably take a lot more years for them to release
10 years maybe.
I mean, Google did it because they had the resources available to do it. If not,
I mean, it's not like Apple doesn't have the resources, right? I mean, they probably do have the resources, but they have probably bigger things to worry about.
I mean, for Google, it's again, I think Sri Lanka is a majority market when it comes to Android devices. Plus, Google services itself. Apple is not prominent compared to US. In the US, Apple is very prominent as a brand in terms of devices. And outside of the US, it varies a lot, like the level of usage of Apple devices in most countries. Even in Europe, you can't say that Apple usage is pretty high. It's only in some countries that they use a lot of Apple devices. I would say even in Sweden, the number of Apple devices that I saw and the number of Android devices might be similar, or Android might be more, because if from their point, it's again the cultural and the mindset, all that comes into play as well. But I guess more younger people tend to have Apple devices in most European countries as well. It's like the mindset. So a few other features. Which do we need to discuss in depth? Any more features of iOS?
No, I think those we touched on the few key ones, right? So we can we're coming back to this, so we'll just skim through the rest, I guess.
Something pretty small, which you can mention, is about the AirPods. Few updates. The AirPods.
Dude, I was waiting for this feature, man. It's just
really, like, you mean the focusing?
This is the find feature, right? This is the find.
It's
feature,
both,
right?
both of it. Yeah. It's, I think, conversation. The find. No, it's not mentioned here, I guess. So yeah, let's talk about the finding feature first. It's.
So I mean, AirPods. AirPods are now easier to find, right?
Yes.
I mean, of course. I mean, I don't know for what reason, but I tend to misplace this and my AirPods all over. It's not that I'm going in. It's just all over the house. I can't. Probably behind the couch or probably behind the TV or somewhere, right? Under the seat, something, right? It was weird that I couldn't just ping it like I could with my WhatsApp or some other device that I have, right? And it has a speaker inbuilt into it, right? And they go ahead and introduce it. So yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, I mean the small things we tend to lose pretty quickly. I mean, for an example, keys, the remote, these are things which disappear themselves very quickly usually. So it's good to have this feature for AirPods, and you can. I hope the feature is available to each single unit separately rather than it as a like within the case, because I mean these are three objects from my point of view. So for these three objects, they should have the Find My feature separately, like the case, the and the headset separately, because again, small items too that you can lose.
So I'm not sure. So in the sort of demo that they did, they said I'm not sure whether you can find the case on its own. I'm not too sure about that. But definitely the AirPods.
Okay. Yeah. And then the next thing they was talking about, was it the conversation boost, right? The conversation boost feature, which
that's
will,
more of an accessibility feature.
Yeah. But
even
even if it's not, like it's pretty good. Like if you are having a conversation with someone, it'll increase the focus of conversation. If you're, I mean, if there's a lot of other things happening at the same time, apparently it'll focus on, I mean, it'll focus on the conversation rather than the other noises. So it'll boost the conversation, and that's pretty good. I remember they mentioned a similar feature on something else as well. Was it for FaceTime?
Oh yeah. Yes, it was on FaceTime. Was it iPad or was it FaceTime in general? I think it was FaceTime in general.
FaceTime in general, I think, where you have two modes. You have like a focused conversation mode, and then an overall audio mode. So if you put focus, I can't, not the exact terms that they use, but if you put for focused conversation, you can only hear the speaking, like people speaking, and all the background noise will be cancelled. Similar to what do you call the noise cancellation features, which are in other audio devices. So yeah, those are mainly the two things that they released out for AirPod. Another software feature was about Apple Siri. Apple Siri, and then here they mentioned that the audio processing will be happening in the device itself, without being send without sending it to the
I mean
server.
that's also like I mean that's a really good feature as well, because I use Siri on a daily basis for nothing else but this sort of setting alarms, setting timers, all that stuff, right? So when I'm cooking, I just say put something to boil, and I just say, okay, Siri, set a timer for this much. Let's see, it doesn't get activated. Okay, I have to say the H word and say name. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's really good. It's just that sometimes when I'm sort of when my internet here sucks for some reason, right? And when the internet is down, all my services like Siri is down, and it's just annoying.
So that'll make things much more easy, and it's actually good for privacy concerns as well. So your audio data will not be moving outside the device; everything will be happening inside. So let's move on quickly to. I mean, since we talked about privacy, let's before we end the podcast for today, we'll talk about the privacy features that they enabled for Apple devices. So iCloud Plus is something that they introduced. So it's an addition to people who are, if someone is subscribed to iCloud, one of the packages that they have available, you will be automatically getting out iCloud Plus, which are more privacy based features. So I think the biggest feature that they talked about is it's essentially a VPN that they're providing, or two VPNs actually. Not
they never use the word VPN, right?
They never use the word VPN because again they have customer bases which have concerns with VPNs. So I mean it's a pretty amazing thing, and if they actually get to do this, then people will actually get like free VPN. Wherever they are. So for an example, I mean, in China, VPNs are banned, as you know, even in India, it's going to be banned. So if this is not VPN, it's technically not VPN, and people can still use it. So what's amazing is that all your data will be encrypted, sent through two routing points. That's like two VPNs. That's essentially two VPNs before going on to whatever destination. So no one will be able to track where the data is coming from and what it is about. Not even the ISPs, from what they said. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it. So probably it's because it's encrypted from the device itself. No, not even the ISP can actually identify what is being transmitted. So that's very good for the future. I mean, I don't think Google will come up with anything like this anytime soon. But
I doubt it.
but this is a very good step. I feel it's probably gonna be how to say, there will be restrictions in certain countries when they actually understand the feature. Like I said, maybe in China, maybe in India, these features might be disabled because of certain issues. But for the general public, for the general iPhone, like for general Apple user, it's one of the best features that they have enabled in terms of privacy. So yeah. And yeah, the next thing is about the email burner function. So that's also pretty good.
So that's actually currently there in one form or the other. So
can you name some other services? Because I remember using something like this some time ago, but I can't remember what I used.
So so I mean, you can generate. There are temporary emails that you can generate.
Yes.
I mean, you can use it. Use that as, you can just use a temporary email, and you have an account open for like 5 minutes, right? So you just sign up for something that you just need to get into, and just accept the mail, do all that, and just forget about it afterwards, right? And actually the main purpose for those to be used for is actually not for signing out to accounts. It's actually when we were doing some testing on some of our apps, we actually use those to do our testing, right? So it just helps with that. It just then there's a random mail, we just put it in, and we can do all because we don't need to create mails from scratch, right? I can't remember any services specifically that not off the top of my head, but there are a lot of services. If you just type in Google, if you just type in maybe temporary email address,
like this will help, like you said, to a lot when you are using, like when you need an email to sign up for different services, when you need to test something and with an email, and if you're signing up for a certain consumer like website, you don't have to worry that they will sell your address to someone else, because it's it's even if they give it to someone else, it's practically worthless to any other person. So this is
when you sign in, so there are certain options you can sign in via Apple, right? There's an option called sign in with sign in with Apple. So when you sign in with Apple, it gives you the option whether you want to hide your email or whether you want to show them your email, right? So that option is automatically given people who offer sign in with Apple. So you can just hide your email, and they don't get access to your email.
Points to take, Google. Points to take.
I mean, I'm interested to see what Google does, because Google is they are so dependent on advertising revenue, and they probably need to change how their revenue model works
because I, like you said, like I feel a lot of people will be shifting to Apple if they are thinking about privacy, and Google will lose a pretty good market share in the coming 5 to 6 years, because Apple is they have clearly defined themselves. We are for privacy, and we'll be continuing on privacy. Like a lot of other companies will get negative effects on this as well, but it's
I'm still betting it's Facebook that's gonna go first. And I actually hope it. I mean, it probably doesn't disappear, but it will at least get broken up.
Let's hope that whatever happened to MySpace happens to Facebook as well. Just go into oblivion, and people should move on to something else. Okay, then with that happy thought and positive encouragement for Facebook, let's end our
good vibes.
With good vibes, we'll end our podcast for today. So let me stop sharing, and yeah, so thank you very much for listening and watching our podcast and supporting us throughout like probably 3 months right now if you've been following us. So
3 months, wow,
yeah,
that's a long time.
this is actually this is the 10th episode, technically the 11th episode after the pilot, but so we are almost one season done, and we let's see how the podcast goes in the next few episodes. We are planning to do some other new events, technically, let's say on Instagram maybe sometime soon. So we'll let you know. And yeah, Sandik, anything to say before we close?
No, I just want to thank you guys for listening, watching. I mean, through our multiple channels, and just thank you. Keep watching and listening, guys. Thank you.
Okay, then let's end it here. Thank you very much. Be safe and see you soon.
See you guys.